Welcome. The Hudson Valley Radio Theatre presents a classic tale from the imagination of one of America's most influential writers, Edgar Allan Poe. The Murder Cafe players are pleased to breathe new life into The Masque of the Red Death. This classic tale, written in 1842, is as relevant today as it was then. This fable concerns a dangerous plague in the attempts of the well-to-do to isolate themselves from the coming attack. The script was written by Jessica Boyd for Hudson Valley Radio Theatre. Our broadcast is brought to you by Studio KTM, the Hudson Valley's only Naturleak certified organic hair salon, and Ulster Savings Bank, a local bank that's more than just banking. And now, we take you back to the Middle Ages, a time when mortality was an everyday concern.
In the era of my youth, the Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. If seized by the illness, victims would feel sharp pains and dizziness, and then profusely bleed out their pores. The scarlet stains upon the body, especially the face, were enough to shut victims out of the aid and sympathy of their neighbors. The disease was very hatching and acted quickly. Prince Prospero, our supposedly sagacious sovereign, was dauntless, however, and I was one of the buffoons who was a part of his perilous plan. I remember the day we all went into hiding.
Attention, fellow courtiers. You have been called here today because you are the finest members of my inner circle. Please take a moment to observe that this magnificent castle I have brought you to is in deep seclusion from the rest of the kingdom. Notice the strong and lofty wall girdled round this startling stone edifice. Since the so-called Red Death has depopulated half my dominion, I am inviting you all to stay here with me. Nothing will vanquish us here.
The crowd roared with excitement.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm loving this. Absolutely.
Huzzah! Oh, joy! The Red Death will not touch us here!
Nay, it will not. Oh, great prince, I knew you would come through and protect your finest.
But we must make sure no one gets in or out.
Right you are. Prince Prospero, what should we do?
I hear you. I hear you. Let us bolt the iron gates so that no one can disturb our peace. With this precaution, we shall defy contagion.
Everyone did their part to bolt the gate shut. No one could enter or exit. Inside, the castle was amply provisioned, and we soon forgot about the people and kingdom beyond our lavish little world.
The external world will take care of itself.
The prince continuously reassured us.
It is a folly to grieve or to think when we have at our fingertips all the means of pleasure.
We did indeed. The prince peopled his palace with buffoons, poets, ballet dancers, and musicians. There was beauty, and there was wine.
All pleasure and security are within these walls, my friend. Without the Red Death.
It was in the 5th or 6th month of our seclusion that the prince entertained us at a masked ball of unusual magnificence. What a voluptuous scene it was, that masquerade. It was held in a spectacular suite of 7 rooms. Let me take you through it. The rooms were arranged throughout the suite in a sort of labyrinth. Each room had its own colour, which was lit up and made more striking by a stained glass window in the hall across from it. The first chamber was blue. The second was purple in its ornaments and tapestries. The third was green throughout. The fourth was furnished with light orange. The 5th was white, and the 6th was violet. The 7th apartment was closely shrouded in black velvet tapestries that hung all over the ceiling and down the walls, falling in heavy folds upon a carpet of the same material and hue. But in this chamber, only the colour of the windows failed to correspond with the decorations. The panes were scarlet, a deep blood colour. We bombastic buffoons roared with laughter as we danced throughout these rooms. There was, of course, the gigantic clock of ebony that stood against the western wall of the suite. Its pendulum swung to and fro with a dull, heavy, monotonous clang. When it struck the hour, there came from the brazen lungs of the clock a clear, loud, and deep sound, exceedingly musical, but of so peculiar a note and emphasis that, at each hour, the dancers paused, the musicians paused. But when it stopped, the revelry resumed.
How utterly ridiculous that was, to have paused like that. Let us vow we will not do such a thing again next hour.
Yes, ridiculous. But there was something so haunting about it as well, as if the chiming of the clock were a reminder that the hour of our merriment will not last forever, that perhaps we are living too lavishly and thoughtlessly for our own good. Nay, my friend, you think far too much. Come, dance with your friends instead. Well, I suppose you're right. But this foreboding feeling, I cannot get rid of it.
Oh, let us waltz it out of you then.
Yes! Come, you know that Prospero has only our best interest in mind.
He has done all the thinking for us.
Well, all right.
The festivities ensued in full force, yet without fail the ringing of the clock each hour would continue to shatter our waltz of unreality. But as the chimes faded, the orchestra would pick up again, and the revelry went whirlingly on. That is, until midnight. Now there were 12 strokes that sounded, and thus it happened. More of thought crept, with more of time, into the meditations of the revellers, and before the last echoes of the lost chime had utterly sunk into silence, the crowd became aware of the presence of a masked figure.
Who is that man? Was he invited?
I certainly haven't seen him before. How did he get in?
The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to foot in the garments of the grave. The mask concealing his face resembled that of a stiffened corpse.
No, he could not be one of us. Look at his costume. It is so ghastly. It is not decadently adorned with color, but dabbled in red blood.
And his brow and his mask, all besprinkled with blood.
The figure, thus clothed in scarlet horror, slowly and solemnly stalked to and fro among the waltzers. When the eyes of Prince Prospero fell on this spectral image, he convulsed, in the first moment with a strong shudder, either of terror or distaste. Then his brow reddened with rage.
Who dares? Who among you dares insult us with this blasphemous mockery? Seize this man and unmask him so that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements.
But no one seized the mysterious figure.
What are you waiting for? Get him! Destroy him!
No one even budged, and the dark figure came closer to the prince.
You cowards!
The prince snarled at his pale counterparts.
You are all a disgrace to the kingdom. If you pathetic peons are not going to protect your savior and sovereign, I suppose I must evade this creature myself.
And so the chase ensued. Prospero moved through the blue chamber to the purple to the green, through the green to the orange, then to the white, and even thence to the violet. Once there, he was maddened with more rage.
I deemed my men cowards, yet it is I who am being cowardly. I must confront the dreaded thing. I must rid that red blot from this earth once and for all.
He rushed hurriedly back through the chambers, and, with a drawn dagger, came within 3 or 4 feet of the figure. They were in the black velvet apartment now.
I know not who you are or what you want from me, but I will rid you from this earth.
But the dark figure seized him first.
The prince!
Prince Prospero is dead. Dead, and we shall fall with him.
Then, summoning the wild courage of despair, a throng of revelers at once threw themselves into the black apartment. They seized the masquerader, whose tall figure stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock. They then gasped in unutterable horror at finding the burial garments and the corpse-like mask, which they handled with such violent rudeness, untenanted by any tangible form. The figure had vanished. It at first seemed as though the revelry of that evening was enough to shut out the reality of the Red Death. Within his fortress of stone and status, Prince Prospero thought he and his finest were protected from everything, even death. But shutting out a problem as severe as an epidemic does not in any way solve or erase it. Even to the privileged and pompous, to whom life and death are equally jests, there are matters which should not be taken so lightly. The Red Death had come like a thief in the night. After the prince fell to his death, one by one dropped the revellers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revel. They died each in the despairing posture of their falls, and the life of that ebony clock went out with the death's last victim, and the flames of the lighting fixtures expired, and darkness and decay and the Red Death held a illimitable dominion over all.
So concludes our broadcast of Murder Cafe's original production of Masque of the Red Death. Tonight's program featured the Murder Cafe players, Sean Rice, Luke Latour, Frank Marquette, and Jessica Boyd. Our sponsors for the Masque of the Red Death are Studio KTM and Ulster Savings Bank. Studio KTM, the Hudson Valley's only Natuleak certified organic hair color location, dedicated to unparalleled personal service and attention to detail in a uniquely calm and welcoming setting. Kristen Marquette turns your cut, color, or keratin service into art you wear. Unwind and renew, knowing Kristen uses only the best in clean and green products for your health and beauty. Studio KTM consultation and appointments are available by calling 845-758-6092. Ulster Savings Bank, a local bank that's more than just banking, with locations throughout the Hudson Valley and online at ulstersavingsbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.